With over 400 celebrity interviews and tons of pop culture nerdiness, Too Opinionated is a safe haven for your inner geek. Find us at meistercon.com or on YouTube under MeisterCon Pod. And please subscribe. It would really help us out. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got actress, director, writer, Dinah Manoff with me. So welcome, Dinah.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
I was so excited to get you on the show. You know, I remember the 70s and 80s very fondly, and you showed up on a lot of stuff that was so popular back then. And you're still working hard getting the work out there, but yeah, it's a real honor to have you on the show. So welcome.
Thank you.
We were our household we were big Empty Nest fans.
Oh, you were? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like my parents watched, so that meant we watched. You know how that goes.
I was going to say, you're not quite our Empty Nest demographic, judging from your age. I would say you probably were, forced to sit on the couch and watch.
We were, but it was a good show. Funny.
Yeah, it was
and
a funny
even
show.
It had the spinoff, and you showed up on there.
No, Empty Nest was a spinoff, actually, of the Golden Girls. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you were on the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you because, see, I didn't remember Empty Nest being a spinoff from Golden Girls, but I knew that you had played the same character on Golden Girls. So I was going to ask you. So it spun off from Golden Girls, and then Nurses spun off from Empty Nest. Is that how it went?
No, Nurses was a whole other deal. But I'll forgive you because you really probably weren't old enough in the 70s to have your facts straight.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah. See, I was thinking Nurses spun off because you played the same character on.
I probably did a crossover. At that time, Witt-Thomas-Harris, who produced Empty Nest, Golden Girls, Nurses, Blossom. Oh gosh, I think there's another one, but I can't remember. Anyway, we all shot on the same lot in Hollywood. Okay. And so what we would do was called crossover episodes.
Oh, yeah. So, I remember the crossover episodes. They were always a lot of fun. It's like
and so
the same network would cross over.
Right. So we loved crossover episodes because we would get paid a full salary for walking across the lot to walk onto another stage, say 2 lines, have the door slammed in our face, and then walk back to our own stage. So crossover episodes were a big favorite of ours.
Yeah, that must have been exactly what it was because I remember those episodes.
Yeah.
That continued all through the 80s. You used to get the comedy blocks especially would cross over with each other quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always thought those were a lot of fun. We don't get nearly as much of that.
Well, it's a whole different industry now, isn't it? So,
It really has changed.
Yeah.
So Dinah, let's start this way. Talk a little bit about what got you into the entertainment business. Why do you want to be an actress?
Well, it was really the only option I had. I was pretty much a juvenile delinquent, but I grew up in show business, and I was, a high school, ditching classes and hanging out with my friends. And
that's a little on the nose considering your character in Grease.
Yes, I was a bad girl, cute but bad. And so my mother, who is the actress Lee Grant, she called an agent and said, will you see my daughter? And I showed up, and the next thing I knew, I was auditioning and taking acting classes, and it was good because it got me, it started to give me some discipline. And so, my first job was on Welcome Back, Kotter, asking John Travolta to the dance. And I started working, and that's how it happened.
Yeah, I've seen that episode of Welcome Back, Kotter. When we first got cable, they used to show those on TBS in our area. They would show the reruns. So I watched it. It was in the 80s when I was a teenager, but I do remember Seen that. I love that show. It's
Yeah, it
hilarious.
was really fun. And John Travolta was, it made him a mega star. So it was, I just couldn't believe that I was going to get to be on the set with him. I was, as a kid, I was 19.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's
Yeah,
funny watching him through the years. He still brings the same energy.
yeah, he's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's so talented, so talented. Um, so both your parents were both involved in the entertainment, right?
My father, who passed away when I was very young, when I was 8, he was a screenwriter.
That's what I
And my
thought.
mother is an actress and director, and my stepfather is a producer. So I pretty much just grew up in a production company. Yeah.
My dad was a big fan of your mother's. He was a big In the Heat of the Night fan. So
Oh, yeah. Well, what a performance. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I he doesn't normally take much interest in me podcasting because he'll say, well, we talk every day. So, I don't need to watch. We already talk. But I told him you were coming on, and he was a little interested this time. But I think it was more because of your mother.
Well, you can tell him that my mother is a very beautiful, spry 97-and-a-half-year-old, and she's amazing. And in fact, I'm going to see her in a couple of weeks.
That's terrific. Yeah, Dad just turned 83, so she's got him beat by a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, so did your father being a screenwriter, did that influence you to write, or was that something you just came upon yourself?
I think, who knows what's genetic and what's your own stuff. I felt early on that I had a proclivity to writing. I mean, I think if I had been more in my right mind as a teenager and was actually making choices for myself rather than being blown with the wind, into show business, I think, I would have been a writer because it's a happier place for me. Acting, while I love it and I've had, a blessed career doing it. Acting always brought with it a lot of insecurity and nervousness. And it's why I don't act anymore. I just, it's just, I'm
A lot.
just too much therapy to be an actress. And so, with the writing, I feel like I can really express myself without, having to look in the mirror and, worry about if I'm getting older or, how,
I could see
someone
where it would be
likes them or
stressful,
not. Yeah, it
especially
is.
if you've been an actress most of your life.
Yeah,
That aging's hard on all of us, but as an
yeah.
actor, aging, that can be stressful.
Well, it's brutal on women. It's not just stressful. I mean, it's you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And listen, I'm just so grateful that there weren't iPhones and Instagram when I was a young actress because I can't even imagine what that would have been like. But
those of us that grew up pre-cell phone and internet, we're all thankful for that.
Yeah. That's right. I'm always telling my boys, don't post anything. You will live to regret it.
It stays on there forever.
That's right.
As parents, we've all had those conversations.
Yes, exactly.
It's tough though, because you've got, generations now growing up where it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Posting pictures and stuff or sending pictures to each other, no big deal. That's just the way they are now.
It's the communication,
Yeah. It's us as the parents and grandparents, we're the ones that get all upset about it.
Yeah.
Because we know we're trying to protect them. Yeah, it can be difficult with that. If they approached you to be on the new Rise of the Pink Ladies, you wouldn't make an appearance?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Well, if they offered me so much money that it made my head spin, I would absolutely do it.
Yeah.
But short of that, no, because it's just a whole thing for me. I mean, we have a Yiddish word called mishigas. There's too much mishigas, too much crazy attached to it for me. Although I will tell you that the one thing I would do, that I would go back to work for, is if they did a new Golden Girls and I could play one of the Golden Girls. Because
Oh, that'd be awesome.
that would so allow me the freedom of being older and being, old funny instead of having to be young, sexy funny, or you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I do. I do.
I would
And
have
it'd
a
also be kind
blast.
of a full circle moment.
Yeah, I'd have a blast being old, but yeah, no.
I know. I know. It can come with its issues.
Yeah.
Well, so when you got the role in Grease,
Yeah.
was the fact that you were a little wild young in your younger days, did that help you with that role? Is that part of the
I think
reason
so.
you got it? Yeah.
I think so. I mean, Grease was my first film. And originally I auditioned for the part of Frenchie, which Dee Conn played. But the casting director, Joel Thurm, who also just wrote a great book, by the way, about, what's it, like Sex Lies in the Casting Couch, I think it's called, something like that. Anyway, he wanted to see me read for Marty and to bring in, a little more zhuzh. And so I based Marty on being a girl who was emulating Marilyn Monroe because she thought that's what, a sexy bad girl did. And my secret with Marty was that she was actually a virgin and that she just pretended that she had all these boys and experience, and that she would push it to the limit.
Yeah. Well, she did a good job pretending. We were supposed to have Olivia on the podcast when she passed,
gosh.
and that was such a difficult time because she was so well loved, I think.
Yes, beloved.
Yeah, beloved. Yeah, she really was, mostly for Grease, but not just for Grease. I grew up with Xanadu and all of that stuff, and it was that was difficult. That was difficult. Had you stayed in touch with her and John over the years?
Periodically we cross, I wouldn't say paths, but emails. She was an extraordinarily selfless, dear-hearted, lovely, beautiful human being. And I just feel, I feel lucky to have just been in her orbit.
So positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. What was it like working with John on Grease after you've been on Welcome Back, Kotter?
Okay, well, John was so sexy at that point that it was, if you were within 10 feet of him, it was like electricity. I'm telling you, there was something going on coming off of him that I just felt tongue-tied around him all the time. It was like almost too much, He was so hot and so talented and so charismatic and dear. All that stuff combined in him, it was too much. I mean, if he'd just been an asshole, it would have been easier, but
right.
he was such a darling. And when we were filming Grease, Saturday Night Live was just being released. Yep. And John took us to a screening of Saturday Night Live on the Paramount lot where we were shooting. And it was about to come out the next week. And we all sat there with our jaws dropped because we saw what was about to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, could anybody dance as well as he could back then?
Yeah. Nobody. And so to say I was intimidated would be putting it really lightly. I mean, it was my first picture. I'm not a singer or a dancer. I know how to, act in tune, and I know how to wiggle my hips and shoulders real good. But I was around all these professionals and this marvelous, crew of dancers and actors. It was it was something.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the fact that you kind of got a hint that big things were getting ready to happen.
Oh my God, it was like, it was like the fireworks were just about to explode.
Yeah, it's so funny with Grease because it's not like it's gotten less popular. It's only gotten more popular
More
through the
popular.
years.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. In fact, where we went last year, we were invited to Liverpool, the cast, those of us who are left and willing to travel. We went to Liverpool and had a great time at a Comic-Con there, and we were just invited to Scotland to do an autograph signing there. And, and the fans are devoted. I mean, you cannot imagine how many pink ladies and T-birds show up, wherever we go. It's incredible.
It's one of those rare films that has, like, each generation falls in love with it. I've got, my kids love that movie. I'm sure my grandkids will when they're old enough to watch. The staying power for it has been kind of amazing.
Well, I told my boyfriends if they're ever trying to get a girl, to absolutely tell them that their mother was a pink lady, and that they'll at least get a first date on
that. Yeah, and you're right. It's like Grease, Dirty Dancing. Those are the two.
Yeah.
It's like especially with women, everybody loves those.
Yeah.
It's it's pretty great. And if Grease comes on TV, you're sitting down to watch it. Doesn't matter how many times you've seen it.
But they couldn't make that today. I mean, Grease has so many double entendres that are so not politically correct.
Yeah,
you could not get away with the Grease.
It does. Of course, a lot of stuff back then does.
Yeah, tons of it. Yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised it took them, 40 some years before they came up with a spinoff.
Right. Well, we are too, because, it had been rumored for 40 years.
Yeah.
We were constantly, getting calls, would you be available? Would you be interested in, participating? And nothing ever came of anything until they did Rise of the Pink Ladies, which, I've only seen a part of one of the episodes, but it looks charming to me.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty well done, because that has to be intimidating. If you were going to be, on a show about the Pink Ladies, as an actress, I would be intimidated because there's so much, behind it.
Hard to fill our little pink shoes, I know.
I remember you making an appearance on Cagney and Lacey. That was my mother's favorite show.
How do you remember? You couldn't remember that. I barely remember it.
I do. When I was probably 15 or so when that show was on. And that was one I watched with my mother. She loved the crime shows at that time. We watched a lot of McLeod and McMillan and Wife and some of those shows. Well, Cagney and Lacey was her favorite. And, so
I've seen that. I've seen Time Daly and Sharon Gless a lot over the years. They're very close with my mom. So when I'm in New York, occasionally I get a chance to hang out with them.
That's pretty great.
I know.
They're still amazing when they're on something. They're so good still. Yeah, pretty great. And then your sister Sarah on Night Court, which was pretty good. I always loved Night Court. I thought it was underappreciated, but then they came out with a remake of it, or a sequel, I guess.
Did you see it?
I did. I was being honest, I was a little disappointed in it.
Me too.
Yeah. I don't think they recaptured the magic from it.
Well, the original cast, Harry Anderson was quite brilliant, and Laura Kett, was so marvelously smarmy, and You know, that they had all those relationship dynamics that they were not able to repeat on the new configuration. Yeah.
Well, they'd lost some of the cast, and
Well, what's
made
your
it tough.
favorite show?
Well, that's a loaded question because I love so many. You know, when I was
Give
younger,
me 5 of your favorite shows right now.
they're okay. Just you want like new ones? Like if I went older, I'm a sitcom.
No.
So
Recent.
well,
What you watching?
I just finished Jury Duty.
Oh, wasn't it incredible?
Yeah, I had Susan Berger, who plays the juror that falls asleep. She was on the show just a couple hours ago.
Oh my God, that's so cool. She was brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, that show was like I had no idea what they were trying to do, but they did it, and it was funny.
It was incredible. Good. Number 1, Jury Duty.
So, yeah, there's that one. Let's see. Let me think what else we're watching currently. We're watching. Shoot, it's not. I want to say Murders in the Building, but which was great.
Yeah. Only Murders.
Yeah, there's that one, but there's one on Peacock right now that is similar to that. That's called Based on a True Story.
Ooh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty. You'll recognize everybody in it. The cast is pretty well known.
Yeah.
And it's really good. So definitely I'd put that one on the list. I'm excited about Justified coming back.
Well, and the Bear is coming back tonight.
The Bear comes back tonight?
Tonight, all 8 episodes drop on Netflix.
That absolutely was one of our favorite shows.
Mine too. Amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know that. My wife gets back tomorrow night. We'll definitely be watching that one. And then, you know, I'm like, I was a comic book guy. You know, I owned comic book stores growing up, so I'm still into that stuff. So there's Secret Invasion came out on Disney. I'll be watching that one too.
I'll pass on that.
Yeah, that's kind of I'm nerdy, so that's kind of my type of show. But what about you? What are you watching currently?
Well, Jury Duty was big top favorite for me. I also watch a lot of really embarrassing trash television. Besides, you know,
you gotta have a little bit of trash television.
Well, Better Call Saul, I think, was extraordinary.
My son that does podcasts with me, that's one of his favorites. And
yeah,
Breaking Bad.
I thought it was incredible. I thought, oh my gosh, Ted Lasso was great.
Oh, we're watching Ted Lasso. Yeah. That's been amazing.
Yeah. You know,
tearjerker every episode.
I feel like a professional television watcher because I watch a lot of television.
Me too.
I mean, I really think we're just like in the most amazing time for TV.
What's your favorite like trash television? What's your guilty pleasure?
You know, I have a few. My favorite is probably well, this isn't trash television. This is reality television. I love Queer Eye. I just think.
Oh, my wife does too. Yeah, she
could watch every single episode they've ever done.
You know, it's always one of those. I'm like, I don't want to watch that. But if she's watching it, I always sit down and end up watching it. It's so good.
That's what my husband says too. But I also watch like Married at First Sight and 90 Day Fiance. So I go low. I go pretty low.
We liked Love on the Spectrum. I don't know if you saw that.
That was amazing. That was, you know, that's good television.
That's good television. Yeah, and reality TV, I've always been a Survivor fan. I watch that every season.
Yeah, it doesn't do it for me. That's, you know why? I'll tell you why. For Survivor, I cannot help knowing that there is a craft service table right around the corner with energy bars and juice boxes. It just can't help it. So they never have me.
Yeah, that's true. If you dive into it too much, you know, they're not as cut off as you think they are.
Yeah.
And that does kind of take you out of it. Yeah, I agree. I still don't think I'd like sleeping on a beach with no shelter, but you know, the rest of it can be a little difficult because you know they're not as isolated as you want because there's a camera crew right there.
That's correct. But you go, you go with it, If it
Well, I
works
always
for
have.
you.
Yeah, it's a good one. Like, it's a good one to put on when we're working on other stuff.
Uh-huh.
Just kind of have it on in the background. It's a good
Right,
one.
for company.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why I watch so many sitcoms. I tend to like, I was always a Seinfeld, Cheers, that type of show fan. And I'll still watch those just because I like having something in the background and I don't have to pay a ton of attention because I've seen them so many times. So yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I'm looking for good comedy. So if you have any suggestions, let me know.
You know what I rediscovered this year that I never watched when it came on, which is a great comedy, and there's 7 seasons, is New Girl.
I just finished that one. That was the second time I watched it.
So fabulous.
Oh my gosh, Schmidt is maybe my favorite TV character ever.
Oh, I know. Okay, I could be TV married with you.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah, we totally could.
Yeah.
That I kind of go through rewatch cycles. Before New Girl, Parks and Rec, and before that, I think it was The Office. But New Girl, I watched it when it was out, but I had forgotten how good it is.
It's so witty. It's so well written and acted. Yeah.
It's one of those. It's not the same type of show, but the feeling you get when you watch it, I think, similar to Schitt's Creek when we first watched it.
Very much.
Because it's like when you first meet the characters, you're like, I don't like any of these. They're terrible. But then by just a couple episodes, you're like, I love these people so much. And it was like that with Schitt's Creek. Yeah. First episode, I was like, these people are terrible. But then you get so invested in them. Yeah. Yeah, I could talk that. If you want to talk just shows we watch, I could do that all day. Didn't you appear on Mork and Mindy?
Yes. Lucky me. Yeah, with Robin. I got to play his, girlfriend sort of for the episode, and
pretty great.
What a genius, what a genius.
I know, now we know he was obviously a troubled genius.
Yeah.
But maybe one of the funniest people ever.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just amazing. And I think that was part of the problem. He never turned it off.
Yeah. Well, he, who knows where that brain came from. So
that's right.
There's something in that kind of genius that, that's all his own, and probably had its positives and its negatives to have that brain.
Yeah, I interviewed an actor. It's been a year or two ago, but I'd asked him the same question I asked you, is how he got into acting. And he was homeless, but he was like at a shelter, and that shelter had some type of connection with an acting workshop. And so somebody talked him into doing that workshop, first time he'd ever acted. And he was at the theater just watching, and he happened to be sitting next to Robin Williams.
Wow.
And he was nervous. He hadn't even tried, I guess, to audition for whatever it was he was doing. So he's very nervous, and he's kind of chit-chatting with Robin. And Robin told him, well, let's get out of here, go across the street to the park and run lines. So Robin took this guy that didn't even have a house at that point and wasn't an actor yet, took him across the street, ran lines with him for an hour, and then he went back and got the role or the part or whatever it was. And then from there, he's become an actor. I always thought that says a lot about him.
That's so much better a how did you get into show business story than mine, that I'm just going to steal it. That's how I'm going to answer from now on. Yeah, when I was
That's homeless. A pretty good story.
It is a really good story.
Because you would think somebody as famous as Robin Williams, they would be maybe a little more standoffish. And he said it was the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Very, so I thought that was pretty great. So let's talk about the book. So you wrote a book.
I happen to have it right here.
I would hope you'd have a copy.
This is the real true Hollywood story of Jackie Gold. And it was published a year and a half ago. And the
Nice.
Audible is coming out in July.
Did you read for the Audible?
I read the narration and the part of Jackie Gold, and I brought in, I did the coolest thing. I got 10 of my actor friends on the island here where I live, many of whom are my students because I teach acting, and brought them into a little recording studio here. So instead of going to LA where my editor and distributor is, we did it all like here, right on the island. And so they read all the other parts, and I read Jackie Gold, and we had the best time making this Audible. I think it's going to be wonderful.
I love that. I love that. So what's the book about?
Well, I told you a little bit of what it was like to be a juvenile delinquent growing up in show business.
Yep.
I may have drawn upon that a bit, but what sparked this book was actually when the paparazzi were going after Princess Diana, and then Britney Spears, and then Lindsay Lohan, and that kind of aggression, that violence that they were perpetrating on these women. And that was the spark of the idea for me. And so I wrote a book about a very famous actress, not me, who is pursued by the paparazzi and jumps off a balcony to escape them, and tells her life story from the hospital bed where she's lying in a coma. So it's actually really funny. So
I know, because you don't think it's too, because in my head I'm thinking that's probably happened to somebody.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing. We just heard about Harry and Meghan just being pursued again through these guys are terrifying. And when I was an actress before cell phones and Instagram and all of that, it was the paparazzi who were making all the headlines. It was the Inquirer, the Star, and so I wanted to use them as the antagonists in this book. And Jackie's life story starts before her birth and goes up to present day. And there's the story goes back and forth between will she live or die in the hospital, and all the people who are coming in to visit her, and her perceptions from the coma, and her retelling of her story.
I love that. Yeah, that
sounds
like it would be, that would have been a good Father's Day gift for my dad.
Well,
or a Mother's Day gift for my mother.
Not too late, for a nice.
No, we're definitely getting this one to pass around, because that's as a
July
family.
Gift is really
that's
what
right. Yeah, as a family, we tend to do that. If we find something good, we share it with each other. So yeah, we'll get a copy and just pass it around.
I'll read to you what Jamie Lee Curtis wrote about my book. It's right on the front cover, as a matter of fact. It just happens.
If Jamie Lee Curtis wanted to write something about the podcast, I would put it right in the front too.
Well, I'm going to read you what she said about my book. She said, a brilliant rewinding of a life of Hollywood glitz, grit, gluttony, and nose jobs.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. How did you get her to write that?
I paid her. No, just kidding.
That'll work.
No, she's an old friend. I asked her if she would read and give me a blurb for it.
I was going to ask you if you'd ever done horror, and then it dawned on me you did Child's Play. So.
Oh yes, I did. I would have thought that's judging from what is behind you in your little screen there, I thought you were just going to come at me with Child's Play from question number 1. So let's have it.
See, that's how good a podcaster I am. I mix it up.
You really took me a long way around to get back to my horror film.
I'm not proud to say that I'm a big chicken when it comes to horror movies, and I was way worse when I was younger. So I saw Child's Play in the theater, kinda. But even though it was a doll, I still had my eyes closed for part of it. I have seen it since then. I was able to actually watch it. But yeah, that doll was creepy.
So creepy.
They're still making those movies
I
and like a
know.
TV
It's the
show now.
craziest thing. I know. I know. I actually received Chucky dolls in the mail to sign. So
You signed them? Do you
yeah,
go ahead and sign them and send them back?
I've signed a few.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Do you get more Grease or more Child's Play?
Oh no, Grease always. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Child's
Child's
Play.
Play, it falls into more of it's a niche. You know,
Yeah.
with that. You've got horror fans or just geeky people like me that love that stuff, but it can't compete with Grease. That has
Yeah.
such a wider audience.
Well, Grease is, iconic. But being Chucky's first victim, it carries some weight in some circles. I feel that, that you too may like really feel the impact of that.
Well, if I couldn't be an actor, but if I was going to do one of whatever, I'd want to be the first one dead. That's kind of iconic. I mean, Chucky is so popular, became so popular, but you were the first one.
Yeah, Chucky's first victim.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
No, but I can tell you that I have never watched the movie past where I died. So
you lost the interest at that
point.
Don't
have a clue what happens next.
Still out there. That's what happens next. He terrorized, a whole generation of kids growing up, and now he's doing it again.
That's what I hear.
Well, so you worked with Walter Matthau,
yeah.
and ought to be in pictures. What you wanted? Didn't you win a Tony when it was a play, but then it became a movie? Yeah.
Yeah, when it was on Broadway, I won a Tony for Best Featured Actress. And at that time, Ron Liebman played my father, and Joyce Van Patten played the other role, the girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that like doing a play and then hearing it's going to be a movie, but then being, up for a role in it?
Well, I have to say it was not the happiest time of my life. I loved doing the play. It was the first time I'd been on stage, and I felt like I really found myself as an actor. Being on stage for me was freeing. Being on camera made me self-conscious and nervous.
Right.
And so when I had to repeat the role in the film, it was so different. I felt so constricted and scared and self-conscious and insecure. And so every day I was battling myself to be present. And so I didn't have a good time doing that movie. I didn't know how to have fun and do it. I knew how to have fun on stage, but I didn't know how to have fun. It was so much pressure coming from such a successful run. And then, the reviews were not great, and I just tanked. I mean, it was a really hard time for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's talked enough about the mental side of acting, because emotionally it can be devastating.
Well, I think there are, I speak to a lot of actors that I worked with who did not feel any of those things back in the days when I was feeling them. And I just think that was, my makeup was that I was, I had some work to do. I had some shit to work out.
Yeah.
And acting exacerbated a lot of my fears and anxieties. But, around Empty Nest, when I did Empty Nest, I learned how to have fun as an actress. I was on the show so long, and by that time I was in recovery from my juvenile delinquency, which lasted an unnaturally long time, I want you to know. But I was in recovery, and I started to enjoy myself. And I had such a good time working with Christy McNichol, with Richard Mulligan, David Leisure, and Park on Empty Nest. And acting became playful for me for the first time, but I was in my 30s. You know, it was a very different experience.
If you could go back to when you were younger, would you change anything, or did that
Yes.
kind of, you would? Okay.
Yes, I would change a lot of things. Yes.
Yeah,
It's
because
not
you
that
know, a
I
lot of
have,
people say they wouldn't because it kind of made them who they were.
I know, I understand that. And I don't have regrets about, I understand that every step brought me to, you know, the rich and full existence I have today. But if I were to go back, I would, well, you know, I might have bypassed the decade of, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll because, you know, that was a full-time job. And
Yeah, of course.
it really delayed my development as a person. And so, you know, that's what I would say, you know.
Well, and that makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I'd probably go back and make some changes in my life because we all have those kind of regrettable periods. And I definitely went through mine with that, and it probably lasted longer than it should have. You know, but that's just part of growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to. I'll throw a couple more at you, and then we can wrap up. But Ordinary People, enjoyed you on that. You had a couple episodes on Sybil. Remember those pretty well. And then
You
I
can
have to,
bypass that one.
yeah. Well, I have to mention Soap because
Yes.
that was, I told you, my mom, my dad's favorite stuff. My grandparents loved Soap. So anytime we go visit them, good chance that it was on. So I've seen, I don't know if I've seen that entire series, but enough of them that I knew you were on it.
Yeah. Soap was, I feel so lucky that I got to be part of that show. And there again, that was Susan Harris who wrote Empty Nest. You know, Susan Harris is, and Golden Girls, she's a genius. And
She's
Susan
amazing.
Harris has a gift for creating characters that can be together for a long time. You know, the
When they're
dynamic.
very real.
Yeah. And Soap was so controversial because it was the first openly gay character on television. And it brought up all sorts of, you know, issues about, you know, pregnancy and abortion and homosexuality and, you know, all the stuff that the
Yeah, that
Supreme
stuff
Court,
that back then
is
you
trying
didn't
to
see.
squash today. Yeah. So, you know, when I got a chance to be on Soap, it was like walking into my favorite movie. Like I was such a fan, and I came on in the second year. So it was like, oh my God, there's Bert and there's Danny. And you know, they were just the characters to me, you know?
Yeah, I know. It's that's one I've always thought I need to go back and rewatch that.
Oh yeah, Soap is amazing. It's an amazing show.
I was pretty, I mean, I wasn't real young, but I was, you know, teenager, so I didn't pay as much attention as I should have.
I think you were younger than a teenager.
Well, I may have been. Yeah, I may because it may have been more of a 70s than an 80s.
Yeah, it was 78 when I was on Soap.
Yeah, I'd have been 9, 10 years old at that point with that. And I just remember them watching it all the time. So you'd sit and catch bits and pieces of the episodes, but there was also times I got pushed out of the room too.
Yeah.
So what was the issue with Sybil?
It was a rather chilly work environment. That's all.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. If you weren't comfortable on set, it was a little bit rough.
It was a chilly work environment. That's all I need to say.
No, I think that says enough. Yeah, I knew I'd seen you on that. I was you know, I loved Moonlighting. So then
Oh man,
came out, we watched. Yeah. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That comment doesn't actually surprise me, which that's probably not a good thing either.
Yeah.
Well, Dinah, thank you so much. This has been terrific. I was so excited to talk with you because you were in so many different things that I remember pretty fondly growing up, and not just me, but members of my family.
Well, you're a wonderful interviewer, and I
Well,
would
thank you.
happily come back if you ever have
Yes.
follow-up questions.
Yes, please come back. Or do you have
Happily come back.
intentions to write some more?
If I have something to hawk, I will let you know.
Please do. Oh, that's great. Well, Dinah, thank you so much. A couple little things though, before we wrap up. Anything that you're working on currently that we can keep an eye out for?
No, I'm writing now, but I'm writing, more personally, and I just finished the Audible of Jackie Gold, so now I'm just kind of back in my office playing around with some ideas, and yeah.
A terrible
Nothing
place to be. And I
for
know
it.
you're still doing conventions and stuff, so you're staying pretty
Every
busy.
once in a while, yeah, every once in a while. We've got something coming up in Seattle in September, which is great because I just take the ferry over, so I'm happy.
But you got to go if it's in Seattle.
Yeah, super easy. Yeah. But
Well, so
no,
last question, are you on social media? And if so, where can we find you?
oh, yeah. Although I have to admit, I don't post that much because every time I want to go back on it, I have to get somebody to help me with it. It's so embarrassing. I mean, really, it's just.
Well, you shouldn't be. It's just the older you are, the more difficult. That is, the younger you are. Younger people are amazing technology.
Yeah. So I always have to get help with it. But yeah, I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook, both under Dinah Manoff. I think Instagram's the real Dinah Manoff, and Facebook is just Dinah Manoff. Yeah.
Some fake Dinah Manoffs out there.
And I guess there are, because my name was taken, so I had to do the real Dinah Manoff.
I know it's so frustrating when you go on to get your name and somebody already has it.
Some impostress out there. I think they wanted like $5,000 for my name. I'm like, forget it. I'll just, change my handle.
Change it. Yeah, just change it. Well, so where can we purchase the book?
Oh, you can purchase it at Amazon. You can ask your local bookstore to order it. And yeah, and it's, we've gotten great response from it, and I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm excited to read it and to share it. We'll pass that around. That's kind of the nice thing about being in an area where most of your family is you can do that type of stuff. We tend to pass books and things just around among the group.
Yeah, cool. That's great.
Yeah, it's not bad. Well, okay, Dinah, hold on one second. Really enjoyed that. Dinah Manoff. She's so talented. I was trying to give her a little push to get back into acting because I think she's terrific. But I totally get why she's not doing that. And she still teaches acting. She's writing. She's staying pretty busy with that. She's going to conventions. I'm sure the body of work that she has done over the course of her career is significant enough. She stays pretty busy just on appearances and stuff. I have no doubt. I think we hit everything that I wanted to bring up with her. We touched on Ordinary People. I really did think Nurses was a spinoff of Empty Nest, but I knew when she said Empty Nest was a spinoff from Golden Girl, that was the right answer. So glad she did. Blossom, we mentioned. We did mention Murder, She Wrote. She had an appearance on there. Lou Grant, that, Ed Asner and I had become somewhat close when he passed. We'd worked together several times. So I growing up, I was a big Lou Grant fan. Of course, Mary Tyler Moore as well, but I really enjoyed him, Lou Grant. So I know she did that one. We talked about Welcome Back, Kotter, which there's not enough love given to that show, in my opinion. It was one of the better sitcoms of the 70s, I think. But it's just my opinion. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Dinah, her stories are pretty amazing. I love the fact that she just kind of owns that she had kind of a rough teenage period, you know, and I think that's terrific. Please make sure to check out her book, The Real True Hollywood Story of Jackie Gold. It sounds hilarious. Definitely going to be getting my copy to read. If you're finding us for the first time, you'd like to help us, we could use the help. You know, we're so proud of this podcast. We're over 600 episodes now. I guarantee you'll find, I won't say hundreds, but dozens of people that you're interested in, or people that you will find interesting if you give them a chance. Definitely help us out with bringing on those guests. And the way you can do that is just subscribe. If you're a watcher, you prefer to watch, our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Just hit that subscribe button. If you like to listen, just wherever you listen to your podcast from, or whatever application you're using, subscribe there. That'll help us as well. You can find all 603 episodes, audio and video, on our website, meistercon.com. So definitely check us out there as well. That'll let you know anything that we have going on. It'll let you know. Thank you guys so much again. Until next time. Bye, everybody.